Hello, hi everyone, it's Cheryl Arkle from Better Reading, and the lovely Katherine Scholes has just called into our office. Katherine is a writer, she's an author of 6 books actually, and her most famous one has been The Rain Queen. So you might know The Rain Queen, but you might know it because it sold well over 1 million copies, is that right?
Yes, overseas a lot of them were, but it's been popular here as well.
There you go. Now, this is a new edition of The Rain Queen, and it's out January 1, and it's going to be for the special price of $12.99. However, if you can't wait for January, you can actually buy it now. It's available right now, and you can read it over Christmas and the summer break. Now, Katherine, very, very interesting. How long have you been writing?
You know, I consider that my first book was the one I wrote when I was 9.5 years old.
Oh wow,
It's an exercise book, written in ink.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is that I'd left Africa, where I'd been born and spent my childhood.
In Tanzania, I read.
Yes, that's right. And I just, you know, it was my home and I loved it, and then suddenly we were transplanted to England, and missing that whole world so much, I started writing at school.
Yeah.
And I think that because I started that link between writing and longing for a place, I've been doing it ever since.
Do you know, definitely that comes out because all your books are set in Africa or Tanzania indeed, is that right?
Yeah, no, nearly all of them.
Nearly
yes,
all of
yeah.
them. And they're beautiful in that it's authentic. It's an authentic sense of place. Do you know, I met a writer recently and she told me she was writing books set in, I can't remember where it was, but let's say New York. And I said, oh, how wonderful, have you spent time in New York? And she said, no, I've never been there. And I thought, oh, how does that happen? Because I really do think that very often the place and the setting is as important as the story. Do you think that?
Well, certainly the setting of this is very important to me. I mean, the research is both memory and research, because a lot of my books are set around the 1960s actually. It's a period that I love to write about. It's the independence era in East Africa, so it's a time of turmoil and change in the political landscape. So I just find that I need to research to get back to that era that's actually not there anymore. But the presence of the landscape is something that you really need to have been there yourself.
Don't you just?
Yeah, you do.
Because you feel as though you've been there when you've read this, or that you're actually there, don't you?
Yeah, I think the other thing is too, because I worked as a filmmaker for many years, and I really write with a filmmaker's eye, so I'm really evoking that sense of place, and they actually become characters in the stories.
They do indeed.
The heat and the dust of the Rain Queen, and then Congo Dawn that we'll talk about later, the jungle becomes its own place, and it has different meaning for different people. So the sense of place is central to what I do.
Really important. So tell me, what's The Rain Queen about? Do you want to tell? Well, I know, but would you like to tell our readers what it's about?
So it begins with a tragedy. A young girl is standing at the graveside of her parents, who are missionaries. It is in Africa, on East Africa. They've been brutally murdered. And this is a poor little girl. She's about to lose everything. She's going to be sent away from Africa and no family. Then into the funeral arrives another character. Tall, long hair, dressed in rugged sort of safari gear, but also with African cloths, and she's surrounded by tribesmen, warriors, and her arrival creates a big upset amongst all the missionaries that are gathered for the burial of 2 of their own. And really the Rain Queen is the story of this second character, Anna Mason. How did she, who originally went to become one of these missionary nurses, how did she end up so closely connected with a very different world? She's undergone a journey that she would never have imagined, and now spends her time with the Waganga people.
It's beautiful. Do you think people connect? I mean, I often think for books that sell over 1 million copies, whether it's in Australia or whether it's worldwide, I think the connection is beyond the story. I mean, because millions of books don't sell to that tune, and that's fine too. But when they do, I feel that, my personal view is that the reading market's this size, and, there are those of us that read, and I know the better readers read all the time. But then there are those that only read occasionally, and they're the ones that make the 1 million copies. And I think for them, it goes beyond the story. There has to be a connection or something, a bit like the Da Vinci Code. I mean, for those people, there was like, you know, the connection of, is it the church, is it real, is it not real? So what do you think it is with the Rain Queen that made it go beyond that? Was it the power of the story, the power of the place? How did we go beyond that?
And I totally agree with you. You've put your finger on something that I think about quite a lot, which is that it's got to be a story that touches on the dilemmas and the interests that are in the reader's own lives. So this is 1960s and it's East Africa, but it's going to be your story too. And it's really about...
You are right, it's got to be your story. I think that's what it is.
And it's got to be emotional for me, not just an academic or intellectual story. It's about what the things that your hopes and fears. And so for her, Anna Mason is the character. She thinks she knows how to navigate the world, and then step by step by step, she's taken beyond. And you know, I find that people write to me about my books, of course, and this book is often, people speak of it in terms of healing. That the book, the story, Anna Mason's journey is one that's given them some inspiration.
Well, they see that's it, so that's where it goes with the story. And really, only a writer with the technical ability and craft, and I guess the visual sense that you have, being a filmmaker, can make this happen in a story. So congratulations, really. I mean, it's no easy feat to sell 10,000 books or 5,000 books. So to have sold 1 million, you know, it's fantastic. Congratulations from us. I'm Cheryl Arkle. I'm here with Katherine Scholes, and we're talking about The Rain Queen, but now we're going to talk about her forthcoming title, which Katherine's actually written but hasn't been released yet. So you will have to wait till end of March, early April to pick up Congo Dawn. This is a proof copy, so what we call in the industry an ARC perhaps, an advanced reading copy. Tell us about Congo Dawn, Katherine.
So Congo Dawn is set in the Congo. There's a clue in the title there.
There you go, got that.
Set at a similar period of time to the Rain Queen, and in fact inspired by the same family photograph that I found while doing some research.
Oh, wow. Tell us about that.
Well, it's a family photograph of some missionaries who had all been killed in a terrible massacre, except for 2 children, Hazel and Stephen, who are at the centre of the photo, who'd survived because they were at boarding school. And I first saw that photograph when I was a young missionary child and was always so puzzled as to how did this happen and what was behind that story. And I've written a number of books about Africa, delving into different parts of
because it's such a complex place, isn't it?
It is a complex place, and our involvement with it as outsiders, which is what we definitely are, it comes into a number of areas too. There are the safari people, there have been filmmakers coming there. One of my novels, The Hunter's Wives, about the Hollywood films made in East Africa. There are the aid workers and the doctors, and so there are, and in this particular book I actually wanted, this is Congo Dawn now, I wanted to look hard in the face of the colonial era, because there's a romance about Africa, and that's well and good, and I'm a sucker for it myself.
I'm a real sucker for a romance.
But then there are some harsher and truths underneath that, and so Congo Dawn, probably Congo is one of the countries where one of the worst colonial regimes was carried out.
Okay.
Having said that, I'm going to interrupt you before the next question, because I want to say
Tell us.
too, this is a story of a young woman in search of her estranged father, who's called to the Congo by him in a very surprising way, and then it's even more surprising what happens when she gets here. So it's an emotional story. It's about people. And it's
well, we're looking forward to reading it. Have we got any questions and comments from our live people? No, but Katherine has agreed that if you want to ask Katherine a question or make a comment, when Katherine heads back to the airport to go home this evening, she's going to sit down and answer them through her comments on Facebook. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I really can't thank you enough. She's come a long way to call in on us and to speak to you, so we're very, very lucky. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you to all of your followers and listeners for joining us here today.
Yeah, they're great readers. So thanks everyone, and see you next time.